Where am I? Oh, it's... Where am I? It's so... Hello? Hello? Oh no. Oh no. No. I can't breathe. Oh my. I planned for this. No. No. No, my worst fears have been buried alive prematurely. Ah! I really gotta get out of here. Hello? If I survive this, I'm gonna tell you about what happened, okay? Just stay tuned. I'll be back, I hope. Alright, well, if you hadn't guessed from that little intro there, I survived. I was rescued, thank goodness, because that was pretty scary. Honestly, being buried alive is terrifying. You have no idea just how scary that actually is. So we're going to tell you a little bit about what's going on here today in the year of the Poe. You got it, the year of Edgar Allan Poe. Collected stories and works. I've got 2 stories to tell you about today from the collected works of Edgar Allan Poe. So the first one to tell you about today is The Premature Burial by Edgar Allan Poe. I believe this is one of his better, more well-known stories from his time. Now, of course, in Poe's time, premature burials did happen because they thought people were dead but weren't really. You know, I know they used to have like these little bells on the coffin that would ring if someone was buried alive and needed to be dug up from their own grave. I mean, just the kind of concept itself, just say the words buried alive, kind of gives you the shivers, right from the start. So in The Premature Burial, Edgar Allan Poe kind of recounts the different events or different times that have been reported where people were actually buried alive. And they just didn't realize it. Like, people had fallen into a coma or a cataleptic state and didn't realize that they weren't actually dead. And then, of course, by the time they come back out of their state, they find themselves buried alive in a coffin. So it recounts a few different stories of people who were buried alive, how they discovered they were buried alive, and the evidence that suggested that they were. This is a pretty terrifying idea, especially in Poe's day. And the narrator in this story recounts these events and then goes on to explain how he is absolutely terrified of being buried alive himself. And it's something that he feared his entire life because he himself suffered from a kind of cataleptic condition where he might have the appearance of being dead and go into these cataleptic states, have the appearance of being dead but not really. And so he was terrified that he himself would be buried alive one day. And he didn't want that to happen. So he worked hard his entire life. He designed his own tomb. He designed the doors to open from within both the coffin and the tomb itself. He designed food slots so that he could receive food if he got trapped down there. He put everything he could to mind. He did everything he could to design his own tomb and burial so that if he was buried alive, he wouldn't have to suffer that terrifying state of being trapped and not being able to get out. So you can really kind of sense the fear within this narrator of his fear of being buried alive within this story. And it just kind of gives you the shivers all around. But of course, this is Edgar Allan Poe. It's not going to have a happy ending. And things are not going to turn out the way that he wants them to turn out. You will, of course, have to read the story to kind of get an idea of how it ends up playing out in the end. But I mean, if you know Poe, even without reading all this stuff, if you know Poe, you probably have a pretty good idea about how all of his preparations went in the end. I mean, it is just really great read and a fun, short little story. Really kind of instill that fear in you of being buried alive and not having room to breathe, being trapped and suffocated, and knowing that there's no way out. And just must be the most terrifying experience that our narrator could possibly imagine, and he feared it so deeply. It was really just a really great, fun, short story, and I really did enjoy Buried Alive, or The Premature Burial by Edgar Allan Poe. If you like short stories, if you like that kind of thing, definitely this one is well worth taking a look into, because it was fun. It was fun. It's just really good read. I really enjoyed that particular story within this book. The second story I have to tell you about today with Edgar Allan Poe's collected works is The Domain of Arnheim. Now, The Domain of Arnheim is a lesser known work of Edgar Allan Poe, and to be honest, I'm pretty not the greatest. I mean, this one doesn't really have much in the way of that classic gothic death vibes to it like we get with so many other Edgar Allan Poe books or stories. And, you know, it's really just the description of this guy who inherits a whole bunch of wealth and what he decides to spend his money on. He builds an estate called Arnheim, essentially, and it just basically goes into explaining in detailed description of what this estate is like, what it looks like, and how it appears, and that kind of thing. You know, it's just the gardens, the rivers, the castle, the estate, and it really is, to be honest, to me, not that interesting of a story. I'm sure that Edgar Allan Poe kind of meant some kind of allegorical nature about it, because that is what Poe does in his writing, but I gotta be honest, this one just wasn't all that captivating for me. It was kind of, to be honest, a bit of a boring read for The Domain of Arnheim, which is probably the first Poe story in this collected works book that I could honestly say was kind of boring. I mean, they're not all super captivating like The Premature Burial or The Pit and the Pendulum or anything like that. They're definitely not all that super captivating for sure, but this is probably my least favorite of the Poe stories that I've read this year thus far within this collected works of Edgar Allan Poe. So that one just kind of, I don't really have much more to say on The Domain of Arnheim, but other than, you know, if you like descriptions of gardens and rivers, sure, go for that. That could work, right? Anyway, those are the stories from this from the collected works of Edgar Allan Poe on the year of the Poe. And you know, as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join me in the Discord as well. I'd love to have you over there. I'll link my Discord below for you to check out as well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, I will put my Linktree below so you can join me over on Twitter and Instagram. I'm primarily active. I will have my Linktree below to all my social networks as well. And of course, as always, if you like what I'm doing here and you want to support this channel, you can join me over on Patreon for as little as $1 per month. Patrons do get early access to my videos, as well as you get the opportunity in a monthly poll to choose what I'm going to read next. And, you know, I hope to add other perks such as patron-only hangouts, you know, patron book giveaways, things like that. Once I get enough patrons on Patreon, I'd like to open that up. A patron-only Discord room I'll open up as well once I get enough patrons. So looking forward to that. And definitely join me over on Patreon if you want to support what I do here on the channel and you like what I'm doing. I'd love to have you over there. Always optional, never required. My videos, of course, will always be free here on YouTube. So thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep on reading. Bye.